Evening all. A reference there for the older British viewer. So in other words, probably nobody that's watching this. Smoking my Ukrainian pearwood tomahawk, and in it I've got some Sam Gawith Full Virginia plug. Very nice indeed. Although, as is typical with Sam Gawith, I've had it drying for so long and it's still too wet. How you all been? I haven't been around for a while, have I? Before I get onto that though, just to go back to the reference at the beginning. Evening all. It's one of the earliest television shows that I can remember. Growing up in the late 50s, early 60s, we had two television channels, BBC and ITV. And we had a lot of American television shows because Britain was in a pretty bad shape after World War II, and that lasted well into the 50s. And I think it was a lot cheaper to import American TV shows than to make our own. So I remember a lot of American programmes, actually, probably more American than British. Comedy shows like Car 54, Where Are You? And No Time for Sergeants and Mr. Ed. And of course some police programmes, Highway Patrol, Dragnet, 77, Sunset Strip. Still got it, over 50 years on. And of course there was Gunsmoke and Wagon Train and all that kind of stuff. And we had homegrown product as well. We had our own police television programme, certainly. But as you might imagine, they were much gentler affairs than the American stuff. And one of them featured this uniformed Bobby on the beat, Sergeant George Dixon. And he operated out of a police station called, a fictional police station called Dock Green. And the show was imaginatively titled Dixon of Dock Green. And every programme, it ran for years and years and years. And every programme would open with George Dixon in his full uniform and his tall hat, standing in front of the police station with the blue lamp above him. And he'd say, "Evening all," and then offer a few homespun words of wisdom before it got into the programme itself. And the show would actually eventually finish with him saying, "Good night all." It was fairly gently paced stuff. I mean, you know, we weren't talking about sort of big crime. The average incident probably involved some teenage tearaway stealing a 10-bob note out of a pensioner's purse. And it would all be set to rights in the end by George giving him a clip round the ear and sending him back on the straight and narrow. Very, very gentle stuff. And fun fact, the character George Dixon, I mean, English people of my generation will know this, originally appeared in a film back at 1950, I think it was, called The Blue Lamp. and he was actually shot dead by a teenage tearaway. It was by Dirk Bogarde was playing the part of the teenage tearaway in his first big role. That's what really broke him. And this character of George Dixon, the old Bobby on the beat, was so popular they brought him back and made a series that ran, it must have run for the next 20 years. I think it ran from 1955, which is when I was born, through into the 1970s, late 1970s. But it was dated. It was dated in the 60s. Things have moved on. We weren't living in that kind of era anymore. This is too wet, as I suspected it would be. But yeah, that was the kind of thing we had. I mean, we had another... I do remember another British cop show, which was No Hiding Place, which was set in Scotland Yard with detectives. And that sort of dealt with the bigger side of things, the bank robberies, the safe crackers, organised crime, that kind of stuff, with Chief Superintendent Lockhart. But Dixon of Dock Green, it was much, much lower scale, as was most British television in those days. It's no wonder that we went mad for the glamour and the excitement of American culture and American television. You know, it's hardly surprising. Britain went through a tough 10 years. I think rationing only finished, of the last item on the ration after World War II, only finished either the year I was born or the year before I was born. So we'd gone through 10 years of rationing after the war's end and austerity, and it was pretty grim. So when television started taking off, it's not surprising really that, you know, people wanted a way out. They wanted escapism away from the grimness and the austerity of 1950s Britain. And American TV and music and films provided that. And until we really got on board and started producing our own high quality stuff, that was the way of it throughout my youth. As I've all mentioned the comedy shows and the police shows and the westerns. And of course with the Cold War we got all the spy stuff, and we had Get Smart, and we had The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which was a huge favourite of mine. I was mad about The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And we didn't really have British product to compare. And kids, when we were playing in the schoolyard, the playground as we call it, it was, we played American characters, we played American stories out. So yeah, that was, you know, it's really weird to look back on that and realise, and of course we still have it to a certain extent today, but then British production values, we got out of the austerity, production values improved, and we started producing our own homegrown product, the Avengers, Danger Man, The Prisoner, all that kind of stuff. You know, we caught up eventually, but it took a long, long time, and we were heavily reliant on American product. More so than other countries, because of course we shared the language. And we even went through a phase where even when we were producing our own stuff, we'd bring over an American actor to fill the lead role, because that's the way it's sold, and when then hopefully it would sell abroad as well. I don't know how I got onto this, but yeah, it's interesting looking back. I just watched a video of Matches talking about his childhood toys he remembers from the summers of his youth, and I'm going to do that as well, because I think that's a really interesting topic. I think we should all have a go at that. Because one of the things he mentioned, and I just replied to him in a comment, was cap guns. Now I don't know what kind of generation that covers, but certainly it covers his and it covers mine. And I was saying to him, I commented and said to him, I can remember the smell of the caps. How can you remember something that is a purely physical sensation. But in my head, I can remember the smell. I don't know. It's all above me. Cheers. Anyway, I'm going to cover that in another video. I'll have another bash at lighting this very damp Sam Garrett tobacco. I do like these pipes. For the money, these pipes are incredible. Have another look. Yeah. Got no regrets at all. I'm already up to 11 minutes, so I better cut it short. But anyway, I was just going to say, because I'm going to do another video tomorrow. The reason I've been absent for the past few weeks is family stuff. Just seems to be one thing after another. You know what it's like. I've been running around after my kids a lot and just haven't had the chance to sit down and do anything. And then last weekend I seemed to be overtaken by having to do stuff because of my ex-wife. You know, you can be divorced from someone for 6 years. You never shake them off. So that's why I haven't been around much. But we should start getting back onto an even keel. And I haven't talked about any of the stuff that I was going to talk about when I started the camera rolling. But you know me by now anyway. So hopefully you put up with it. And I've got more family stuff coming up. Having said I'll be back on an even keel. My sister and her husband are coming over next week from LA to stay. Which is one reason I can't go to the Piper's picnic in London that Pip's been arranging. And the look on my face is, you think it's my eldest sister, and I haven't seen her for about 4 years, and I haven't seen her husband for about 6 years. It should be a joyous occasion, but families, you know what families are like. I don't need to tell anyone out there what families are like. My sister herself can be a difficult person to get along with. And add into the mix the fact that, I mean, she's been married to her husband for nearly 40 years now. But to say that they've grown apart or gone in different directions is an understatement. And we often wonder, me and my other sister who lives here, often wonder how they're still together. I mean, my eldest sister in the States is, and I'm not going to get into any politics here, I'm not saying my preference one way or the other, I'm just sort of setting some background. But my eldest sister in the States is very much a pro-choice, pro-gun control, liberal Democrat. And her husband, over the years, has turned into being almost the polar opposite, which is anti-gun control, quite right-wing, pro-Trump Republican. And I say, I'm not saying which way I'm going, but when you can imagine the two of them together, quite a tense atmosphere. Which is why we're surprised that they're still married. Especially since Donald got into the White House. But, yeah, so it's going to be interesting having them over. Lovely to see them. Probably be quite lovely to see them go as well. I'm sounding like a terrible person, but you know. Families, can't live with them, can't live with them. we'll have some good times. And hopefully we all bite our tongues and keep our lips shut when someone says something that doesn't exactly go down all that well with someone else. But that, you know, that's what I've got coming up next week. I might be able to squeeze a video in next weekend as well. You'll be relieved to hear. If because I think they might stay with my other sister, although we'll still be going. It's all. This was all sprung on us at quite a late date. We weren't actually expecting it, so yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, I'm up to 16 minutes already. I'm going to cut this off now because far too long. Didn't expect to go on this long. Going to do another video tomorrow and maybe another one next weekend. Trying to catch up on all your videos. I'm so far behind. You know what it's like. Backlog, one thing and another. But that's life. Anyway, cheers all. Hope you're having a good Friday evening wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Having a nice drink, whether it's alcohol, whatever. I'm enjoying my beer and my pipe, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow. Bye bye.